So I tried to figure it out. How did I get in this place to where I'm asking my neighbors to help me out in such an embarrassing situation that I'm in? Because for surely I thought this was so embarrassing that I'm going through this mental situation. So then I had to think back. How did you get to this place where now you can't call on the church? So I remember one day walking across the parking lot, and it was two ladies out in the parking lot, and they was talking about this one particular person in the church. And this person in the church was the elder. And usually I'm not the type of person that after church over with, I don't linger around in the parking lot to talk to anybody. I go to my car and go because I'm not there to gossip, talk about anybody, no nothing. So I'm heading to my car and I hear these two ladies talking about the elder has an intimidation spirit. And I said, I ain't never heard that before. So they was explaining a little bit of things of what she do or whatever. And so I had never noticed any of those things that they were saying about her at that moment. But you hear something and it kind of puts you on notice. And yes, I'm going to pause for a second because I see Callie in the chat. I messed around and opened up my eyes. Hey, Callie, how you doing? So I'm going across this, and I never paid attention to any of these things that they were talking about before. But now that somebody tells you something, you're on alert that people are doing these things. So we proceed on. There's choir rehearsal and things that happen. And one of the things that I was led on to know that the elder does is if you lead a song in the choir, she gives you these stares that she just can't stand for somebody else to lead a song. Just something I've never paid to before, never even cared to even think about it. But this one day, I'm asked to lead this song, and I happened to turn around and look, and I saw her face. And for sure, there was a scowl on her face. And I tried to blank it out and just because, I don't know what she had been going through prior to that. So I move along with that day. And then one day, I'm going to the restroom. It was between Sunday school and church starting. So I'm going to the restroom right prior to church starting. And when I walked in the bathroom, there's like 20 women in the bathroom. And when I walked through the door, silence. Everybody turned around and looked at me. And one of my cousins was in the bathroom. And she say, "Oh, child, we thought you was elder." I said, "Oh, okay then." I said, "Well, let me go ahead and use the bathroom so I can get on out of here because I don't want to know what y'all talking about." I went in and used the bathroom and I left from out of there. They continued on their conversation. I moved right along. Well, on that day after church, there was a meeting. And this meeting was about doing a fundraiser. And so I'm like, okay, then. So everybody, people in the church were suggesting you should let one of your daughters run for, they had the king and queen contest is what it was called. So it's like, okay, then, she can do it. But then, if she's doing it, then I'm responsible for helping raise money, inventing ways to raise money, so forth and so on. So we all set aside, and then they divided the church up into two groups. And on this day of the meeting, the elder was not in church on that day. So it left her without a team to be on. And just so happened my team had the least amount of people on it. So when the elder comes to church next week, she's going to be made aware that she is on my team. So that Sunday, me and my team had already came up with a plan right off the bat. We were going to sell crab platters, and I was going to bake cakes, and we were going to sell things like that. So that next week came, and the elder was there in the meeting. And me and my team, we already voted on what we're going to do and everything. She came in, and as I'm standing up in front of them, talking to them about how we're going to do this thing or whatever, she stands up and says she does not agree with what it is that we're going to do for the fundraiser. So I'm like, okay, so I want to be fair, but and I ain't worked in no group like this before, because usually if I'm doing a hustle, I'm doing it by myself. I don't have anybody. So I want to be fair, but in my mind at this time, I'm not thinking fair is we got 19 people here on our group, and this one person came in and she does not agree, but 19 people agree that this is what we should be doing. So, and I think I felt that way because she was the elder of the church. So she said, I don't agree with this, and I'm going to go to pastor about it. I said, okay, then. So since she going to go to pastor about it, I'm going to go to pastor first and talk to him and tell him, what it is. I went to the pastor, and the pastor said, well, if the group of 19 have already said, this is what we're going to do, then you have to go with the 19. It doesn't matter if but I'm trying to respect her as the elder. I've always respected my elders before. So I don't think the elder likes this part. So at this point, I'm like, okay, we move along with our situation. So it's like, I done got these little inklings, and now little things are starting to show up. So one night, probably about 3 days later, which was the Tuesday night. This is Sunday, this is Tuesday night. Tuesday night, we got Bible study. Me and my kids come in. I always tell my kids, go use the restroom before church starts. They are already in the restroom using the restroom. And right before church starts, she walks up to me with a smile on her face and she says, hey, how you doing? I just wanted to come and tell you that make sure your kids go and use the restroom before church service start, because it's very disturbing when they get up and walk in the middle of church. And I was like, oh, okay then. I didn't take any offense to it at all that she said that, but my kids were already in the bathroom, and that's my routine every time I walk inside the church. So then after she came up to me and approached me and said that, she then went up and took the microphone and said it out loud in front of everybody. Can you please make sure your kids go to the restroom before church service start? Because we don't want any interruptions. Okay. So I kind of like looked at that and I thought, well, if you were going to make an announcement in front of the whole church, then why single me out to say anything? But okay, then. It is what it is. That was the first thing. Okay, so the next thing that happens is the fundraiser is approaching. Now, prior to this fundraiser happening, we got good old Hurricane Charlie came through. Hurricane Charlie came through, knocked everybody's power out, including mine, knocked a whole bunch of trees down, broke out some windows, all kinds of stuff here in Florida. Okay. But I made an obligation that I was going to do this fundraiser. So no matter what I was going through, I'm going to pull out my gas tanks and I'm going to fulfill these obligations. And I'm pretty sure people are hungry right about now. So what a good time to be able to cook people's food and be able to deliver it to them. Okay. And these were pre-sold tickets for a crab platter. In this crab platter came 3 crabs, potatoes, corn, sausage, and an egg. Okay. And we all know that when we buy crabs, they all different sizes. None of them are basically the same size or anything. But you know, you weigh the plate out to make all of them look the same. And all these crabs are clean. The back is off of them. All that good stuff. So, and mind you, we just had a hurricane and everybody's power and stuff is out. So I went ahead and filled those obligations or whatever. And I went and delivered platters miles and miles away. And I didn't have to do it, but I'm just telling you, that's what I did. So I took this particular plate over and delivered it. And at this time, this girl had to be like 14 years old. I got a complaint. The 14-year-old said she got a little crab. I said, okay, then, you know. But out of all people, she found the elder to make the complaint to. So I said, okay. That after I did the crab boil and gave everybody their things, I didn't get any complaints or whatever. But the complaint that I got from her is that it didn't have no sour cream or no none of that stuff in there. And it's like, yeah, this is not a restaurant. You know, I promised the platter, not all the extra things that go on it. But anyways, I missed church that Thursday night. But when I came to church that Sunday, I was made aware that there's a complaint about the platters that you were selling, and somebody complained about the crab being too small. So I said, oh, you know, I made sure I looked at every plate and every plate like balanced itself out. They all look the same, you know. The elder bought the crab with her to church on Sunday. I wasn't there when she bought it. This lady put the crab back in her purse and took it back home, and she bought it back on Tuesday night. So when she bought it, she said, the pastor come to me and he said he want to have a meeting with me in the office. And when we get inside of the office, this lady pulls a piece of foil paper out of her purse and it has a crab wrapped in it from a week ago. And I say, oh, wow. It doesn't have any of the legs on it. It's just the small body of the crab. And I'm just like, okay. And the pastor looks at it and he says, I mean, we can't be selling nothing like this right here. And I'm trying to explain to the pastor, if I made her plate with this little crab on it, she had 2 gigantic crabs that weighed itself out. So, and he was just so against and on her side at the time that there was nothing that I can explain, because crabs are sold by the weight. They not sold by how many you buy. Anyways, well, in some situations, yes, it is. But he wouldn't let me explain to him. So I said to him, okay, then if we're gonna give her back her money and everybody else's plate was like this, and you're saying that we could not be selling people anything that looked like this, then we have to give everybody back their money, because this is how I fixed everybody's plate. And I didn't get a complaint from anybody except for this 14-year-old. And which I'm not against a 14-year-old complaining about anything. But I'm just trying to make sense of this at this moment. You ate everything else on the platter. You just left that one crab for her to be able to bring and let it be known that this the way it went. So I say to him, I say, well, if we're going to refund her money, I think we should refund everybody back their money, because this is how I fixed everybody's. I say it wouldn't be fair to say this right here. And he was like, no, he was like, and then he tells me, he say, now you letting the devil use you. You want to give everybody back. And I say, let the devil use me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what's happening here. So I was just like, okay, you know what? What I just want to do, because now it is me that has put out this money to buy these things, with the pre-sold tickets and everything. And then the other money after goes into the pot, for my daughter to win this contest. So I just give him the money, and I tell him, I say, you know what? Everybody who I sold a plate to, just give it back to him, because I'm mad at this time. So as he's talking to me and telling me that I'm letting the devil do X, Y, and Z, she's there with her hands folded, and she is like, yes, yes, yes. And I was just like, I don't understand this. So anyways, we go on, and for whatever reason, I've never crossed paths with her before. But something else happens, and she is asking for another meeting in the office with the pastor. So I go in the office, and she's in there, and she's asking, can she pray for me? And I instantly look, and I said, you can stay over there and pray where you are, but you're not putting your hands on me. And the pastor asked me, can he pray for me? And I told him the same. I said, no, I don't want anybody to lay their hands on me. I say, you can pray from right there where you are, but no, do not touch me. The pastor hits his desk and tell me that I have a murderous demon. And which I did not take lightly. And I was made aware of that through somebody else's, that just because somebody says it and then it's not, you don't feel that it's in the right spirit, doesn't necessarily mean that you should throw it away and void it. So I was like, okay, then if I have a murderous demon, then Lord help me. Because, I don't know. So I'm put on notice by somebody else. And so as we talking in the office or whatever, he gets down to it. And I forget what the whole conversation about this second meeting, but he asked, I'm sitting in the office and I'm asking God, let the pastor ask me, do I forgive this lady? And for whatever the situation was, the pastor ended up asking me, now, do you forgive her? And I told the pastor, I say, absolutely not. He say, well, then, if you ain't gonna forgive her, God ain't gonna forgive you. I said, okay, then, no problem at all. Now that I'm talking about it, now I remember what the problem was. After this happened in the church, there's two of my cousins that's on my team with me. We all come from the same place or whatever, and I'm used to talking to them about problems that I be going through or whatever. So the same way, I told them about what happened, but my cousin them ended up going to the pastor house and talking to the pastor about they ain't like the way that they were doing me. So the pastor called me and he was like, what I did was absolutely wrong. So I was in the office getting chastised. What I did was absolutely wrong. I ain't had no business taking whatever happened inside the church and giving it to somebody who is not a Christian or what, however he said it. Is that I'm basically doing this thing is like I'm running people away from the church. So I said to him that I apologize for that right there because I didn't know it. But he kept on saying it, kept on saying it. And I just finally said to him, I said, listen, I heard what you said the first time when you told me, but you ain't gonna keep on taking this and beat me over my head. I said I apologize for it. I apologize and I'm done with it. And while he's chastising me, she's still there humming in the background or whatever. And I'm just like, so in me, she's there and she's going through, and I was like, I just don't even understand how she's the one that end up with this right here. It's like this girl. Well, she sought me, the girl sought me out and she told me she wasn't happy with it and she don't come to you and tell you anything because you think you know it all. And I said, oh my goodness. Now the person who they talking about is somebody who every now and then she asked me, can she hold my baby in church or whatever? So I never thought that there was no problem, but never had any issues with none of the young people in the church. So as I get ready to walk out of the church that day, I asked the girl, I said, were you upset about your plate or whatever? I asked in a nice way or whatever. And she like answered me as like, yes. And I was like, okay, then I'm sorry that you had an issue with it or whatever. Your refund will be given back to you. And I went on ahead about my business. Now the next thing I know, we back in this office having this meeting, and now they got three people in this meeting with me. And this is the day when he asked me, do I forgive her? And I said no to him. And I said, listen, I said, there's an issue with something with her. I said, I don't know why she keep coming at me or whatever and doing the things that she do. And I said, but I'm not the only one here in the church that has an issue with her. The pastor said to me, we ain't worrying about what issue anybody else got with them. And I said to him, I said, well, I thought the Bible said that if you got an aunt with your sister or your brother, you come to them. And then if they don't believe what the aunt is, that you go and bring 2 or 3 others. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the Bible, and I'm still learning right now today, but I did know this part of the Bible. The pastor told me he didn't want to hear what I'm talking about in the Bible. I say, well, then I say, and then if 2 or 3 people don't hear, then he say, bring the whole church. I say, well, I wanted to tell you, I say, it ain't only me that got a problem with her. I say, it's every woman in this church got an issue with her. I say, because when you walk in the bathroom, everybody in the bathroom stopped talking because they thought it was her that was walking through the door. As soon as I let that come out of my mouth, the pastor started banging on his desk and he said, you stop it. You stop it. And I said, well, all you got to do is ask the people here in the church. I couldn't get out another word. He was doing his thing or whatever. And I was just like, okay, then. It is what it is. Now, mind you, things are getting so serious for me now that I'm going to church, but I just don't know how to even stop it because on the way going, every time I get like a mile away from the church, I start getting this overwhelming anxiety. And I got to pull over and vomit and everything before I even proceed to go to church. And I'm like, I don't know why I feel like this. But then I didn't know that there were seasons to things. I thought this is the church that I was sent to, and this is where I was supposed to continuously keep going. I didn't know that there was supposed to be a time that I was going to stop. I was unaware of any of that. So I'm steady pushing myself to go, So now this lady is trying to prove to the pastor that she don't got no problems with me. So on this day, we go to church. I done pulled over to the side of the road, throwing up before I get to the church. Anxious, just don't even want to go, don't even feel the same way about it. I get to church, and they do the thing where you walk around in the beginning and you give everybody, you do like the little fellowship hug or whatever. Now, we done did this several times at church, but I ain't never crossed paths with this lady before to give her a hug. And I can see her making her way through the crowd, like trying to get to me. But prior to her getting to me, I'm at the water fountain putting water in my baby's cup. And now she's standing at the water fountain and she trying to help me put water in my baby cup. And I'm like, what are you doing? Now she's like, let me help you with that. And I told her, I say, no, I don't need no help, because in myself, I felt like you trying to do something now where you trying to show the pastor that, see, I keep trying to help her, but she don't want my help. I keep on trying to do this and she don't want to do that. And I was just like, no, I don't need your help. So they walking around giving the hugs out or whatever. And after I get my baby situated, the next thing I do is I turn around and she's standing there wanting a hug. Now, I looked at her and everything in me did not want to give her this hug. But I did it, that little tap you do on the back where a person don't really want to hug you. They ain't trying to hug you. This lady grabs me with everything in her. And she does like this bear hug squeeze. And the only thing that I can tell you, if you ever seen the Green Mile before, and that part where he had took the infection from out of the one person and he inserted into the evil man, and just how it looked like everything in him was drained out of him. When she gave me that hug, I felt like I had been violated in every way that you can think of. When she turned me loose, my arms just went to my side dangling, and a big tear fell out of my right eye. And I turned around, and when I turned around, I locked eyes with my sister. And I just looked at her, and I ain't have no strength left in me. I felt like this lady sucked every bit of strength out of me. And I said to my sister, I said, I just want to go home. And my sister looked at me with confusion on her face and she said, well, let's just go home. I grabbed my kids and my keys and stuff, and I started to walk out of the church. And at the bottom of the stairs is another lady that I knew from the church for a long time. And she was like, where are you getting ready to go? And at this point, something done snapped back inside of me. And I'm like, I'm about to go home. And she said, you about to go home? Church ain't even started yet. I said, I know church ain't started yet. I said, but I'm going home. She said, well, I'm finna go and tell pastor. And her saying that to me put me into another place. And I said to her, I say, go and tell pastor whatever you want to tell her. I say, I'm grown. I can do whatever I want to do. And I told my kids, let's go. And we got in the van. And by the time I got in my van and started to pull out of there, I seen the pastor was out on the front step. I didn't even stop for him. No, nothing. I just paused like I was before I pulled out of there and went on about my business. Now, because I'm not showing up to church anymore or whatever, and I'm going through my own battle, because remember, I'm going through mentally in my mind, and this church was the connection to everything. I felt like because I was going to this church was the reason all of my mental things had to stop happening and all of this stuff. So I don't need this. The last thing I need. So the next thing I know, somebody from the church is calling me and they disputing everything that I said. Is like they don't believe anything that I say, and I'm just lying on the pastor. And when they told me that the pastor said that I was call me a liar, I was done, completely done. So I never went back there no more time after that. So which then brings me to this point is I never dealt with my neighbors like that before. I always stayed to myself. But what I was going through, I felt like I needed somebody. So the only other person who I could think about was my friend that lived across the street from me. So one day I went over there and got her, and she was like, well, what is it that you need me to do? I said, I just need you to come and sit in the house with me until my husband get home from work. I don't want to be in the house by myself. I said, you can go to sleep and everything. I said, I just need somebody to be in here with me. So she came over there and she kept coming over there. And this one day, like I was having really, really bad episodes or whatever. And it was like I couldn't even be inside of the house. And then it was other people that was there, and it was very embarrassing for me. And one of her relatives came over, and all of them have grown up with each other they whole entire life. Them with my husband, they knew each other's family. They done fought each other's family. They done everything together. They know everybody in each other's family. But when this family member came over, the friend from across the street heard her family member saying, I'm going to call CPS on her. Now, my friend from across the street, she came and told me, she said, girl, pull yourself together. She said, because my aunt talking about calling CPS on you. And I couldn't think for the life of me that everybody in my husband's family. And because I'm just saying that I don't want to hold my baby right now at this moment, the only thing you can think of is you going to call CPS on me. I didn't say nothing, but I held on to that. I held on to that for a while. No CPS was called. I got the help that I needed to get me through that day. But prior to all of this happening, I had a dream after I was at that house with the lady that I was crawling on the floor running from her. The same one that was saying, Lord, sweep this house clean from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet. At a certain point, I felt like she was my savior. So everything that I had going on, I called her for it. I wanted her to be near me, whatever. I looked at her like she was the savior. So this one night I had this dream. And at this time, my mom had already passed away. And in this dream, my mom's chest in her stomach area was like volcano lava. It was like this orange, red, and black color just moving around in her chest area. And I was sitting on the sofa, sitting next to her. And I could see all of this stuff happening. And I have the phone, and I got the phone, and I'm dialing numbers. I'm dialing my husband's sister number, the one that helped me through some of the situation. I'm dialing everybody's number, but for whatever reason, every number I dialed, none of those numbers were working. And I'm looking at my mom, and my mom is not in distress. She's there, comfortable. She looks normal. Everything except for her chest and her stomach area is like fire. And I'm calling. I must have called 100 numbers, but I couldn't get through to anybody. And now looking back at that dream today, I feel like God was showing me, you don't need anybody. You don't need anybody. So I went back to, at even one point, I can remember telling the friend across the street something that I just felt like it'll keep her wanting to have conversations with me. But it was far-fetched. It was just something that I was saying, you know, to keep her in communication with me. But it worked against me. And not long after that, this friend that had helped me through this hard time, she got up, came over, stayed with me every day while my husband went to work. And I'll never forget, on Martin Luther King's day that they set aside. About a week before, I got a call from this friend. And she said she had just gotten out of the hospital and having problems with breathing. So she came home and then it just wasn't right or whatever. So she called me and she was like, "Can you come down here?" She was like, "I'm having problems." And I'm happy to oblige because God knows she was there for me. So I go down there and see her, and she is like, she want me to go to the hospital with her. So me and one of her relatives, we get in the car together and we ride there. And when we get to the hospital, she called me on the phone while we pulling up to the emergency room, and she's saying, "Shauna, I'm coughing up blood, and they're gonna put me in a coma." And she gives her declaration, her last words or whatever before they put her under. She had to say it to the doctor or whatever. And before we can get inside, we in the hospital parking lot, and I'm talking to her on the phone, and she's just like, "They're gonna put me under, so by the time you come in here, I'll already be asleep or whatever." So we get there, and I'm thinking, "Oh, she gonna be all right." And we get there. I go on the inside, and they tell me when I get in there, she's sepsis. And I'm like, what does that mean? I don't have I have a clue of what it means, but I really don't know what it means. It's been a long time since I've been in that place, and I'm like, what? I have to refresh my memory of what that means. And the doctor starts to explain to me that she has an infection running in her blood. So I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, then. So he put her in an induced coma. So I'm there every day, all day, praying, praying, praying. And I just know God is going to pull my friend through. We get there. I had took my kids to the parade, came home a little bit early, and I went over to check on her mom. And her mom was walking through the house like panicking with her bra and her pants on. And she was like, "I gotta get to the hospital. I told her, I say, calm down." So then my phone rings, and my phone, they're telling me that she didn't make it. And what actually was happening, they had just did a brain scan on her, and there was no activity. Now I'm getting this phone call, but I'm standing in front of her mama, and I see her mama panicking because the hospital is calling, but she missed the call. I'm not finna stand here and tell this lady that her daughter didn't make it. So I let her finish getting dressed, and I went ahead and drove out to the hospital. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. When I get to the hospital, her boyfriend is coming out of the room with her picture in his hand. And still, I'm like, I don't get it. So I go into her room, and she on this machine that's like shaking her up or whatever. And then other people start to arrive there, whatever. I'm up to the top of the bed holding her hand. And then her pastor and them come in there, and they like saying prayers. But in the midst of everybody saying prayers and standing there, I see this lady walk in the room, and she walking with a purpose. She comes in the room and she go around everybody. It's like maybe 30 people in the room at this time. She go past everybody. She come up to where I am holding her hand. And she touched me on the shoulder, and it's just like she like asking me, but not asking me, move down just a little bit. So now she's up at my friend's head, and I see her lean over and she's whispering something in her ear. And everything in me told me, this lady came in here, and I know that she just did a repentance prayer with her. I just knew it. She came in there and whispered whatever she whispered in her ear, and she walked right back out of the room. It was like she was an angel, came in there and walked back out. After we left from out of there, we went and sat in the waiting room, and that's when the doctor came in and said that it was over. She was gone. It was the second time in my life that I had believed God to heal somebody that I was praying for. And I feel like it didn't work. In the silence that was there with me, I tried to hold it together. I got in the elevator getting ready to leave the hospital. And I was fine, long as nobody didn't ask me a question. We got in the elevator, and another family member was in there, and she said, Shauna, you okay? And I lost it in that elevator. I just knew I would make it if nobody asked me anything. It took me an hour to get out of that parking lot. And then on top of that, there was a third party to our group. And they had fell out over the smallest thing. And now she's in the club, and I'm calling her at the club, and I'm telling her, Sonya is dead. And she in the club screaming, no, Shauna, that ain't real. That ain't real. I say, no, I'm here at the hospital. She is dead. They didn't have a chance to make up. So now I'm back in this place again, where the people I thought that I can depend on and not be embarrassed by what was happening to me. One more person gone. And that is how I lost my church home. And I went back there and visit one time before. And it's still a church that I would tell people to go there. I would never take away what I got from there. And I just ask, God, if I did anything wrong, show it to me. And so now all I have is just the truth of how I got to that place or this place. And it's like ever since then, God has been slowly but surely showing me you don't need a whole bunch of people. And this is where I'm going to end my story for the night. Oh, thank you all for being here listening, because you could be anywhere else, but you decided to spend your time here with me. I appreciate it so much. And I had to backtrack tonight just a little bit because I really put some thought in it today that how did I get to this place where I ended up with I wasn't talking to the people in the church or any of that stuff. So I had to backtrack in the story. Next story, I'll get back on track to where I was headed to from the last story. But um Miss Parker, thank you for joining me tonight, and thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it very much. And anybody that else that is here, don't be afraid to like, share, and subscribe. It may not be for you, but you may know somebody who's going through something similar, and needs some encouragement or whatever throughout any of these stories or whatever. And that's what it's here for. Share it with them. Encourage somebody to get through. Use your stories to, instead of being embarrassed about things that happen to you, use your stories to help elevate somebody else, help push them up, if they want to be pushed, because some people don't want to be pushed. Some people just want to stay in the place that they are. Your life story brings tears to my eyes. Big hugs to you. Thank you, Callie. Hugs right back at you, and thank you for always supporting. um Another thing is over here we are the high class gardeners, which just means we always make sure that we're growing something over here. I don't care if it's a pot of tomatoes growing on your porch. Grow something. There is going to be shortages after a while with all of these different things that's going on in this world. And if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. If you don't want to grow any food, start stocking up on you some stuff like rice, different things like that. That's going to help stretch you through and get you through the things that you need to get through. But make sure that you are prepared um with something, you know. And let me see what else I needed to say. Oh, and I do answer questions. If there is a story that I already told and there is questions about it, I don't mind being asked questions. This is a safe place to be able to ask your questions over here. I like to say that there is no such thing as a stupid question, but to me that is stupid questions. But as long as they respectful and stuff over here, I don't mind answering those questions. And the ones that I don't want to answer, I don't mind saying to you, I ain't answering. Go ahead, Callie. You know you can ask the question. What's the question? But yeah, this is a safe place to ask questions, things that you may be going through or something, and you want to ask something about your situation or somebody else's situation. If I've been through something similar to it, I don't mind talking about it. But the only way you have not because you ask not. How is your son and the baby? Okay, Kelly, I would gladly answer those things. My son, he is still not out of jail yet. He's doing okay. There's some things that he didn't know that he has to do some paperwork and stuff so that they can um that his probation officers can get his situation straight, because all of his charges and stuff were the charges were dropped. So it's just the probation officers have to be able to do their thing. Um the baby and mom had disappeared off the map once again. I was called at one point to see if I could um do a missing persons report, but that seemed a little weird to me. And after me trying to get rid of her and then calling the police and saying that she's missing, and then the question to me would be is, if you was trying to get rid of her, then why you saying she missing now? So I was like, son, that doesn't even make sense for me to call and report her missing. I said, but what I can do is I'll talk to that the CPS worker that I had been dealing with before. So I just like reported to her again, and happy to say that I think her mom came into town this weekend just passed, and I think she took the baby back to New York with her. So, you know, and that's as much as an update that I have on that situation. I haven't seen anybody. I haven't had no drama from that situation, no none of that. And I'm glad to say, stomp on wood, knock on wood, praise the Lord, I ain't got none of those issues right now. I miss the grandbaby, I miss seeing his chubby cheeks and all of that stuff right there. But I also too at this time, Shauna looking out for Shauna. And sometimes it hit me right in the gut to even say that I'm looking out for me, because that ain't been what my moves have been prior. So I'm more focusing on me, myself, and I at this time, and it is what it is. But all is well. I'm praying for them on a daily, and hopefully, being that day on your heart, Kelly, I hope you doing the same as I do for everybody that come under the sound of my voice. Whatever anybody going through in situations similar to mine, close to mine, or whatever, I ask God to help you to get through those situations. Because none of mines were easy. But I know one thing, they all helped me get to where I am now. And I say, I thank God for going through all those things that I went through. Because they helped me be the person who I am right now. So would I want to go through it again? Absolutely not. But if that's where I'm gonna be, that is where I'm gonna be. But yeah, but as far as I know, everything is going well with him. I heard that he's getting big and everything. But yeah, I haven't seen him since I handed him over to the DCF worker. But I'm hearing he's okay. So if there are no more questions, then I think I'm gonna check out of here tonight. I think that's the end. Cause I'll be on here. I can babble on now, but then when I get to the point where I start to feel like I'm about to turn into a bucket of tears, then I like to pump the brakes, pump the brakes on it, because I don't want to go back and feel all of these things. I can actually talk about a lot of these things, but the going into depth thinking about it, mm-mm. I don't want to feel all of those things all over again, because now I'm more so thinking about all of the good memories and things that I have left behind, but feeling the sadness of, and knowing today was the day that we got got that news those years back is it hasn't been the same without her. And when she died, she left behind she had a 2-year-old son, her first son that she had given birth to. So it was really sad. That was a really sad time. So I hope they will keep you posted on him. Sleep tight, sis. Yes, Callie, I ain't hoping that they keep me posted. I'm hoping that my son keep me posted. But he even asked me when her mom coming to town to pick the baby up, do I want her to bring the baby by here? Absolutely not. I would love to see my grandbaby, but I don't want to have no dealings with none of those people, because I also feel like if the mom would have came by here, then she would bring her daughter with her. No. So for me, I felt like that was the best decision to make for myself, is to not cross paths with him. And I told him I would love to have seen him, but unless he there, nope. I don't want to cross paths with none of those people and everything, because all I can think of is another headache or a fight or something coming along if she show up over here. So nope, I kept it cute, Callie. Leave them alone. Let them stay right over there. No, ma'am. So, I'm looking forward to, when my son get out, being reunited with the grandbaby. But yeah, all right then, y'all. I'm gonna call it a hey, I'm getting there. Y'all done had to tell me a couple of times. Shauna, you better go. You better run the other way or whatever. So it's like, it is a crazy thing, especially when it come down to your grandkids and you've been doing everything for kids all this time. It's something different when you start moving in a different way, and it just seemed like it crushed you and everything. But I can tell you that I'm not feeling crushed over here. Yeah, I miss him and everything, but I ain't dropping no tears, no none of that. I'm actually just saying prayers for him, and I'm able to move along about my day, because God knows I don't want to be in what I was in just a couple of months ago. So um I'm getting there, Callie, trying to be a wise woman. I'm wise in some places, but some places, I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get there. So, if that is all, I'm going to say good night to you, good people. And I thank you all for the new subscriptions and everything, because I'm losing some and I'm winning some. But I'm fine and dandy with it all. And I will see you all next time. And Kelly, do you mind being a moderator? You always be here, so I need an extra moderator, because all the times the sisters ain't able to do it. But so far so good though. I have good people over here. Ain't nobody over here trying to do nothing wrong in here, because we don't need no problems over here. But you know, we'll work it out. Just let me know, Callie, if you okay. Then you said, of course. Thank you so much. We'll when I get to it, I'll figure it out later on. So when you come on here the next time and you lit up, you already know. I appreciate it so much. So but you all, I am going to say good night. And again, I appreciate you all for being here, because you could have been anywhere else but here with your girl. But you was here with me for the night. See y'all next time. Thank you again, Callie. Kelly said they better be nice.